Hello, this video is for someone who's considering ATP Flight School, or someone who just wants to know more about it. First, I'll introduce myself and my situation. I graduated university in May 2019 with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. I was lucky enough to graduate without any student debt. I obviously would not have gone and taken out a loan for flight training if I still had to pay off a big loan for my degree. I started ATP in Long Beach, California in November 2019, so that was November 18th, 2019. I had grown up in Colorado, gone to school in Colorado. I was just keen to get out of state, for the experience of living somewhere else. So why not sunny Southern California? ATP's price is the same no matter where you go in the country. They've got, last time I checked, more than 40 locations all over the country. Oh, so my goal is to fly wide bodies for a major U.S. carrier. I have a particular one in mind, but which one it is doesn't really add to the value of this video, so I'll leave it a mystery. Moving on to when I enrolled in ATP, you could either start from zero time with your private pilot certificate already. I heard nowadays they may be more willing to custom tailor a program to a prospective student, just so they can get more people signing up, during and after COVID. Don't quote me on that though. Anyways, when I started, I'd had about 23-ish hours prior to ATP, like a year and a half before, at like a flight school out in Colorado, which never really finished the private pilot certificate then. But because I hadn't finished it, I just pretty much either start with your private or you start from zero. So even though I had 20-ish hours, started from zero ATP and got the private pilot through them. Of course, I would have saved some money if I had gotten my private certificate elsewhere. So that's a good thing to do. If you're thinking about ATP, I would probably recommend getting your private pilot elsewhere. Not because there's anything wrong with how ATP does the private pilot, but just for the different experience of the mom and pop flight school and ATP flight school. Just it'd be a good experience. You'd probably save a few bucks. Anyways, moving on to where was I? Oh, so the reason I didn't do that and just went to ATP, got my private there, and the rest of my training there was because I wanted to do it quick. They advertised the program as 9 months, but people should realistically expect a little bit longer due to, check route availability, weather, this and that, various reasons. I actually finished the program in 8.5 months, even though the effects of the coronavirus pandemic and this and that reduced the incentive to get to 1,500 hours as quick as possible. I still just wanted to get through the program as quick as I could, so I'm really glad I was able to do that. After all, that's the whole reason I picked ATP instead of, kind of more down-to-earth mom-and-pop flight school, was just to get through quick, and that's what I did. I did, however, skip MEI. I'll get more to that later. I estimate if I had finished up that final MEI, that would have taken about 2 more weeks, and it would have been right at that 9 months mark. You've probably heard a lot of bad things about ATP, and most of it is actually true. ATP as a company does not really care about you. They are just in it for your money. Even though the company wouldn't think twice about screwing you, hopefully the instructors you get do care about you. I was pretty lucky with the instructors I got, but ultimately you are responsible for guiding yourself and making sure you are ready. It sounds obvious when I put it that way, but in contrast to a college, ATP doesn't really push you along. Your instructor is the only teacher, and they aren't guided by ATP much beyond the curriculum and company policies. The instructors I had, particularly during the private instrument phases, were fast-paced, and I liked it that way, but that might not be beneficial for some people. That's kind of how I was able to get through in the time I got through. If you are doing very well, if you're doing great, it's incredibly easy to go over the allocated flight time for a particular phase. So if your instructor is not on top of it with scheduling or what you do in the plane, you can face extra time charges extraordinarily quickly, and being fairly frugal, I found that awfully frustrating. just having to pay a bunch of extra money just because my instructor had been not paying enough attention with our time in the plane or with his scheduling. Anyways, I've also got a note in here that says ATP Kool-Aid. Don't really have much expanded there in the notes, but there's a lot of company Kool-Aid at ATP, and every time I complain about that to people in the airlines, they're like, oh, well, that's how the airlines are. I'm like, well, at the airlines, they give you a large chunk of money to be working there, but here at ATP, I'm giving them a large chunk of money, so I don't really want to deal with as much BS. So that is pretty frustrating. I guess it's just part of any big corporation, but they could be cooler about it. Cooler Kool-Aid. Pun not intended. Anyways, on the other hand, there are some very positive things to be said about training ATP. The first is the speed, going from student pilot, so pretty much no pilot certificate, all the way to instrument rating, commercial single engine and multi-engine pilot, instructor and instrument instructor in less than 9 months is great. I'm really glad I was able to get done in that time. At times, ATP's structure can be frustrating, but it works. Another huge thing is their maintenance. I've got it written in all caps here because it's huge. The planes are kept up super well. I'm not saying they're the prettiest, but like they don't fly with squawks. Like a smaller local flight school might have small issues like, oh, the COM2 radio knob, the volume adjustment doesn't really work, or the flap switch is finicky, or something like that. But ATP, like every little thing, they fix it. So that is great about their planes. They just want to get them back in the air. They want to make sure they're in tip-top condition, which is fantastic. Even one time, like I was doing a pre-flight, and I always do pretty thorough pre-flight inspections, probably from leftover from when I did the bus driving and had to do those pre-trip inspections each time. But one time I found, there's like a missing rivet, but really not a big deal at all. And I pointed it out, and maintenance had to come out, and we had to get a new plane, and I was like, oh, we could have just flown the missing rivet, it's not really a big deal, but, Anyways. Alright, at ATP, a plane never goes out with any kind of squawks. A squawk, in flight school terminology, is just a maintenance issue. ATP has 3 kinds of airplanes. They have Piper Archers, and they're primarily on the East Coast. They have Cessna 172 Skyhawks, which are mostly on the West Coast, and their multi-engine airplanes are Piper Seminoles. That division between East Coast and West Coast for the Archers and the Skyhawks, it's not exactly right down, but it's approximately mostly Archers on the West Coast, East Coast, mostly Cessnas everywhere else. They have versions of each airplane with either conventional gauges or electronic instruments. The electronic ones are going to be a G1000, a Garmin G1000 in the Cessnas, and a G500 in the Pipers. Out here in California, all the California locations have the conventional gauges. Probably something to do with gas being more expensive here and they're slightly cheaper to buy. I don't know, but so I did my training on these conventional gauges. And I like it. I think this is an unpopular opinion of mine, but I think the G1000 is slightly overrated because you fool yourself into thinking you're flying something really cool with this glass cockpit and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's still a Cessna with a long-motor engine. Alright, probably good now. Another positive thing about ATP is how they package a lot of their information. The information you need to know in their they've got these training supplement booklets. Those are fantastic, and they've got online modules. When I went through ATP, the program included the private pilot, the instrument rating, and the Garmin King School subscriptions. Also the Shepherd Air written test prep and the cost of the written exams. I've heard from more recent students that they kind of shaft you and don't include that anymore. And I say shaft you because they used to include it in the same price. Now it's still the same price, but they don't include it, so that's kind of not very cool of them. Probably just like them trying to nickel and dime and save some money with COVID and whatnot. So now I think you have to pay for your King Schools, you have to pay for your Shepherd Air and your Riddens, which kind of sucks because you used to not have to. Anyways, after ATP, the whole thing with ATP is they give you a CFI job, right? It used to be that if you fail no more than 2 check rides and you complete the program within 120% of the projected completion time. So that's, they give you some wiggle room from that 9 months, for various reasons. And you just don't piss off the management. You will be offered a flight instructor position at ATP. Like the written exam stuff, I think this has changed nowadays. It's been removed from the contract. You can still get the job, it's just not as guaranteed as it used to be. There are pros and cons to being an instructor at ATP. Big advantages is the guaranteed job part and guaranteed students, lots of flight hours. But from what I understand, ATP instructors do not get paid very well in comparison to CFIs elsewhere, or McDonald's employees elsewhere, or shelf stockers. They don't get paid very well at all. So that sucks. They are 1099 contractor employees. They're 1099 contractors, not employees. So they don't get health insurance, benefits, anything like that, which is, to be fair, pretty standard amongst CFI positions throughout the country, ATP or not. ATP does not treat their instructors super well, from what I've heard from friends I have who instruct there and whatnot. Right now, they've got an excess of more than 40 instructors. So throughout the country, they've got more 40 instructors more than they need to. So because of that, management will fire you if you slip up once. It's just I've been trying to snap during this video and it's just not working. Anyways, they'll fire you really easily, which sucks. You're really sounds like a stressful situation at work. Alright, anyways, I mentioned earlier that I skipped MEI. I'll briefly describe what that means and what led me to my decision. The ATP program gets you private pilot, if you don't already have it, instrument, commercial, CFI, CFII, the instrument instructor, commercial multi-engine, and then multi-engine instructor, abbreviated to MEI. I opted to skip MEI in favor of money back. However, doing so voids my eligibility to be a CFI for ATP, and a lot kind of went into that decision. I was kind of thinking it over for months. The reason I wanted to do it was so that I would have that guaranteed position, lots of flight hours. But the reasons not to do it would be because outside of ATP or a program like that, a lot of flight schools don't have multi-engine airplanes because they're kind of expensive. So you're probably not going to get much time instructing in multis anyways if you have the MEI. And if I don't do it, they give me money back, which after you've not been working for 9 months, is very, very enticing. Even though when I did get the money back, I didn't really change my spending habits at all. It was kind of nice to have, I guess. I had a point I was getting to about MEI. Oh yeah, so really it came down to, if I want to instruct for ATP, I'll get MEI. If I don't want to instruct for ATP, I won't get MEI. And the reason I decided not to, because I originally had planned to instruct for ATP at least for a little bit before switching elsewhere. But what made me not want to do it is because I had kind of had this prediction or inkling, or that's not the right word. Anyways, I had thought that with coronavirus and everything, less and less people would be signing up for ATP, which makes sense. The whole romance of being an airline pilot has probably been reduced a little bit now that there's all these pilots out of jobs and whatnot. So if there's less people signing up for ATP, the whole, lots of guaranteed flight hours gets less realistic. So I was like, okay, well, it's hard to get a job elsewhere as a flight instructor. I'm just going to take my chances and go for it. I was lucky enough to get a flight instructor job. I have no idea how it worked, because I had no flight instructor experience. It must have just been right place, right time. In the LA area here, there's a whole bunch of airports. It's incredible. I can't even count. But I drove to every single airport in the LA area. I went to John Wayne in Orange County. That's the Orange County airport. I went to Fullerton Airport. There's Long Beach Airport here, where I'm at right now. There's Torrance Airport. There's Hawthorne. Oh, there's another voice crack. Nice. Hawthorne Airport. There's Compton. There's El Monte. Anyways, you get the idea. I, drove to each airport, dressed nice, giving out resumes, and of course, not to my surprise, everyone was like, no, of course we're not hiring flight instructors. Coronavirus 2020, it's not going to happen. I was lucky enough to get a flight instructor position. So I'm really thankful for that. It's a great school, lots of great people at the school, great students, and I really hope of course, like any instructor, trying to do a good job. It's hard, your first flight instructor position, but I've signed off some people for solo. I haven't signed off any check rides yet, but yeah, it's fun, it's exciting, and I'm glad to be where I am. Please let me know if you have any questions about ATP. So really, I'd say it's hard to recommend ATP to a friend unless they really know exactly what they want. That being said, I don't regret doing it at all. Anyways, was there anything else I was going to say? I don't have it written here. I don't know. I planned on getting this video released a lot sooner. I started writing this kind of script I've got in, what was that, like February 2020, so February this year, before I even finished my instrument rating. Then I never finished that, then I started writing again in the fall, and right now it is December 26th, 2020, so, over a year since I started. I got out of the program in, August 8th, that's when I had my double-I check ride. So in that time, yeah, I've been doing some stuff. You can't tell it's the day after Christmas because, this is Long Beach, California, which is, if you aren't familiar with California, it's pretty much LA, which is Southern California, which doesn't really get cold. It gets rainy 2 days a year, probably. Anyways, yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I want to be here to help, and hopefully this video doesn't suck. I'm not a pro at making videos. I just want to make this for you guys to kind of consider. If you're going to spend this much money on something in your life, try to get as much info from other people. And, this was my experience with it. I'm sure other people hated it a lot more than I did. I'm sure other people loved it a lot more than I did. So just try to absorb as much as you can, talk to as much people as you can, because this shouldn't be a spur-of-the-moment instinctive decision. You should be informed and well thought out. And I'm just kind of rambling now.